All right, our next panel, I mean, we've been talking to a lot of people here looking to open up clubs or bought a franchise, and we know indoor pickleball is exploding around the world, especially around the USA, and we found that we had talked to several of our top franchisers last year in Las Vegas, and we kicked off our first conference, and I don't know what the numbers are, but I think in the last year, we'll find out some of the numbers, but they've exploded. New companies, new franchises, as well as some of the leaders that we have right up here today. So I'd like to introduce our panelists and they'll tell a little bit about their business and also the club owner. And we've talked to several people from Canada and other parts of the world that are Ohio. I think they're building facilities from the ground up as well, and some are looking at franchising. So there's many different options. We had a couple of the top area pickleball clubs, the Fort down, if you haven't checked that out. Renee Prats is going to be talking a bit later more about the Fort. We had Brad Tuckman here yesterday. And also the Boca Paddle Club, a new facility that's opening up about 5 minutes from my house. I'm happy about that. But that's going to be another year away. But we know as we travel around, I think, is there anybody here that doesn't live near a pickleball court? Okay. How about indoor facilities? How many people here belong to an indoor facility club or have played indoors? Okay. All right. And especially if you're in Florida, we like indoors. We like AC because it gets a little bit hot here, and I know other parts of the country, and it rains quite a bit during hurricane season. But so there's a lot of options. We know there's some facilities here and around. So let's introduce our panelists today. Good friend from, he was in Las Vegas with us last year, Will Richards. His wife will be speaking later because we have the women of pickleball that run the show, right? The women that run the show. And I think Will tell you, she's running all the openings, right, coming up. But Will Richards, our good friend here, and you're a veteran too, aren't you? Yes, you are. U.S. Air Force? That's for sure. So Will Richards of Dill Dinkers, founder and CEO, will be talking. Want to welcome David Smith for the first time with Pickle Rage. Welcome, David, for joining us. And Jeff Raelson, who has got his own facility, Pickleballerz. We'll talk about that. And I know you've worked with David before in Pickle Rage. So why don't you start off, Jeff, talk about your background and how you got into pickleball, and talk about your club. Good morning.
I guess you could say that I'm the old man of indoor pickleball, figuratively and literally. In 2019, we were visiting our grandson in Northern Virginia, who was 8 years old, playing indoor soccer on a gym floor, and all these 8-year-old kids running around the floor. And I said to my son, who was recently retired from the Navy, if I build an indoor pickleball club, would you and your wife run it? And his response was, what's pickleball? And so after we explained it to him, I had started playing in 2017. My background is a tennis background that goes way back to when most of you weren't even born yet. I played varsity tennis. I was a tennis coach. I'm a tennis author. I taught tennis. I was the president of the Metropolitan Collegiate Tennis Conference way back when. And I got into pickleball in about 2017. And in 2019, we decided to build an indoor pickleball club in Northern Virginia. And we came up with the name Pickleballerz with a Z. And it turned out to be a pretty good investment. We were approaching the county for licensing and permitting, and then COVID hit, and everything got delayed by about 6 months. We finally opened up in the middle of COVID, October 2020. People would show up wearing a mask. They'd take their mask off when they went on the court. When they got off the court, they'd put their mask back on and leave. Needless to say, our food and beverage didn't do very well that first year. But since then, we've done pretty well. We've been in business for 5 years. We've got about 400 members. We are a membership club as well as an a la carte for various services, when we allow non-members as well. We went through many, many different pricing thoughts and theories and practices until we finally came up with one that we think that works, and we've been doing that for quite a while. In 2022, we were named the Indoor Pickleball Facility of the Year. So I'm pretty proud of the facility.
Jeff, thanks a lot. You are a pioneer. Let's talk, pass the mic there to David Smith, Chief Operating Officer with Pickleballerz franchise group. It's out there, see opening up facilities all over the place. So maybe give a background of yourself and how you got involved in pickleball, and explain a little bit about Pickleballerz and how many you have open now, how many you have sold, and which direction you guys are going, and what areas of the country.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. I think the first thing I want to say is thank you to guys like Jeff that, engineers in this business, pioneers in this business. The only reason we are pursuing indoor pickle clubs, it's because of innovators like Jeff and the Raelson family that were doing this long before it was cool to do this. So thanks to you. Big round of applause for Jeff for all that you and your family have done. Yeah. So at Pickleballerz, I came to the opportunity just based on the opportunity. I look at all the same data that most of you do. The growth of the sport needs growth in facilities, and we're looking at a market that's still incredibly underserved. At last count, something like 700 pickleball players per court in the U.S., not per place to play, per court. So it's a wildly underserved market, and in half the year in the wintertime, a lot of those courts close. So we believe indoor facilities is filling a need. The growth of the sport is outpacing the growth of facilities as fast as we can build them. So we set out to help solve that problem. We're building indoor pickleball clubs. We have corporate clubs. We're franchising. We've sold about 24 franchises and are getting those guys open just as fast as we can. And the goal is to build a dedicated pickleball facility that focuses on the player community and the needs of that player. So at Pickleballerz, while we'll test almost anything, we're staying away from everything that isn't just really serving the pickleball player, giving them a place to play and thrive at the level where they are at today and want to get better. We've got 4 corporate clubs in various stages of either operating or under construction, 6 more of those starting to get built. We've got our first franchise location open in beautiful Mobile, Alabama, and another 8 under construction, and most of which will be open by the end of the year. And the popularity of the business model is great, and we're just proud that we're awarding at a pace that we can support and get our franchisees open. Very happy with the business model and look forward to growing with the sport.
All right, thanks, David, for being here. And Will Richards, you were with us last year, and you guys were exploding last year. So a year later, why don't you update us? We're Dill Dinkers, because I see about every week you're opening up somewhere new. I know you got your wife traveling around doing all these openings. We'll hear more about that later. But you guys have done a great job and really tackling the country and moving at warp speed.
Thank you, Carl. I, too, have to pay homage to Jeff. When I made the initial decision, like, this was a good idea, we should do this. Of course, the first thing you do is go to Google, and I Googled indoor pickleball, and Pickleballerz popped up. And you guys had this amazing video, which was a walkthrough of the whole facility. And I remember my jaw dropping, because the vision I had as a prior Domino's Pizza franchise owner was exactly what you did. I mean, in my mind, that's what it should look like. And I remember telling my wife, Denise, oh my God, somebody's already doing it. And you were like, you just helped us get to the point where we're like, yeah, this could be done. We could do this, and we could do this well. So I wanted to thank you. We've had a couple discussions over the years. Your daughter, Beverly, is great. She's been, my wife and Beverly have had many conversations. And of course, we opened up our first facility probably about an hour north from you in Columbia, Maryland. And that's what...
But his latest one is a mile from us.
Sorry about that. So, yeah, that's kind of how we got started, with just the one club. And my wife she's an amazing operator. She's an amazing person, and she's helped develop the community there. And she's the backbone of the company. I like to say I'm the pretty face, but she's really what's going on behind the scenes. And she will be the first one to tell you she only wanted to do one. So next week we're opening our 20th location in Satellite Beach, Florida, not too far from here. By the end of the year, I think we'll have about 35 open, and we have over 400 in development in various stages around the country. So it's been an exciting trip. Met a lot of great people along the way, like Carl and Jeff, and recently I've met Dave. So we're excited to share what we know with you all, and I know there's a lot of aspiring facility operators out there, so hopefully we can teach you a little something.
Great. Yeah, we'll open up for questions a little bit later, but let's dive into a couple things, Jeff. And obviously, with your facility, talk about the pros and cons and the heartaches and what it takes. It's just not like, okay, I got this idea, I'm going to open up a facility. You find the land, you find the building, you built from the scratch, from ground up. You didn't franchise, right? So talk about some of the things that went into you getting your place open. How long did it take you? All aspects of it. You can maybe help some people right now, because I've talked to many people already that are sitting out there, either have the land, or they're already talking about opening up 3 in Ohio, talking about 3 in Canada, 3 here. I mean, they're already talking multiple locations. It starts with getting the first one done, right?
It was a pain. We weren't going to build our own facility, so we wanted to rent a facility. So we wanted to find something in a good area and well lit, and a place off a freeway or a highway or a turnpike, however you call it, depending on where you're from. It was important to me that the facility be a modern type facility and in a very good area, because I was concerned about women playing at night, being alone, walking out to their car. So that was a critical element for me, that it was well lit, in a good area. Of course, we made every mistake you could possibly make in building the facility, aside from the COVID part of it. I figured, remember, there was no models for us to look at. So I said, well, we want something bright and cheerful, so let's paint the walls white. We now have gray walls, dark gray. Glare is a problem when you have white walls. Same thing with lights. Let's get some really good LED lights. Well, the LED lights we bought were almost like stadium lights. Great if they'd be 60 feet high. But at 18 feet or 19 feet, it produced way too much light. We had to figure out ways to change it. We made a lot of mistakes like that. On the positive side, we went to Plexipave, which at the time, and I still think today, is one of the best indoor surfaces, and perhaps outdoor as well. It really is good for your joints. It has a little bit of a give to it. The ball bounces true. So we did invest the money in the courts. And so far now, 5.5 years later, the courts are still holding up. We haven't had to redo them. So that's pretty much on the basic side of it.
Brad, let's talk about your model. Is every pickle rage the same, identically, in your model in regards to number of courts, the structure? Give us a walkthrough of a pickle rage franchise.
Yeah, they're definitely not the same. This is really a lot about the real estate, as you mentioned, and the locations that we're identifying. We have to maximize the number of courts that we can get in that facility and other revenue generating ways to use the space. And every space is a little different. Column widths are different, ceiling heights are different, layout is different. So making sure that we can maximize that footprint. Some of our clubs are going to be as small as 6 courts, others as many as 16. And it really depends on the market that we're going to and the economics of that site. One of the first things I would say to anybody considering getting into the indoor pickleball business, rule number 1, know your economics inside and out. You got to understand that once you sign that lease or buy that building, your fate in a lot of ways is sealed at that very moment. You have to really understand your facility cost, your overhead, and what you're going to pay for that facility, and so that you can know how to maximize your revenue per court, maximize your revenue per player. We'll talk about that a little later. But really understanding the economics. A lot of people I've seen get into this business because they love pickleball. And we love pickleball players as general managers and franchisees in our locations. But we need to make sure they also understand this is a big business decision that they're going to live with for a long time. Rents keep coming. No matter what's going on, you got to know your economics, guys. Very, very important.
We'll talk about your concept as far as size of your facilities. You look for anything specific when you're looking for real estate, and you don't build from the ground up, right? You strictly go into facilities, or have you built any from the ground up?
We have the the architectural plans for people to do that if our franchisees want to, but we haven't done any yet. So David brings up a really good point. So internally, we do this thing called right-sizing the facilities. You know, I know of somebody that's putting a 60,000 square foot location with 18 courts in a town with 100,000 people and an average household income of $60,000. Raise your hand if you would do that, because I will tell you that is like the worst mistake you can ever make. When you look at demographics, you back into the demographics with a facility that matches what those demographics can actually support. And we know this because we opened 4 locations in 10 months, and we made a couple of really big mistakes. Just because the rent is really low on a big facility, which is what attracted us to our second location, it doesn't mean people are going to drive 30 or 40 minutes to come and play pickleball consistently. So there's a lot of different things that go into making this decision when you open a facility. My friend Renee Prats, he has an amazing facility in South Florida. He has an amazing rent. Like, you have to be patient. A lot of people rush to market like, oh my God, pickleball's hot. I need to open a facility. I need to open it now. And they'll sign any lease that comes along because they trick themselves into their performance of making it work. Well, it's not working at 50% utilization. Let's see if it works at 80%. Oh, it works at 80%, so I'm going to go ahead and sign a lease with a 10-year personal guarantee. No. You have to really look at what makes sense before you sign a lease like that.
The other thing that I would mention that I forgot to mention, oftentimes I walk into a room and I forget why I walked into the room. So demographics were very important to us. Again, we'd had no model to follow, so I hired a company to do the demographics for us in Northern Virginia, in Fairfax County. And the key element for me was the over $150 million per year was paid in the year before for participation sports. Now, I assumed most of that would be kids, you know, the parents paying for youth baseball and soccer and football and all things like that. But even so, that was such an enormous amount of money to me that people were spending to play something. And I figured that was really a key for me. Marketing, some of these guys will talk about marketing because they're opening multi-units and franchise units. But for us, we were one player. And my son, who was a retired Navy fighter pilot and had some marketing experience, convinced me we need to hire a marketing company. I fired them after the first month. We didn't need a marketing company. Good social media and people walking in as we were building. People would stop by, when are you opening? What's going in here? And word of mouth. And we had a grand opening, and the first week I did a clinic with a young kid. I think he was a senior at college. His name was Ben Johns. He put on a clinic for me, and it was 2 3.5-hour clinics. He and his brother Colin, I paid them $1,500 each. I don't think I could get them for that price anymore. So anyway, that's just a little bit more.
That's great. Talk about why franchise. We've got people looking to build their own facilities. What's the benefits of franchising? And when you're looking for a franchisor, or they're looking for you, what's some of the criteria you were talked a little bit about? You like general managers, you like owners that obviously you have to have the passion for pickleball, but you can be a good businessman out there and maybe you can't play pickleball, but what's the combination? You've got to believe in the sport and believe in the industry. It doesn't mean you have to be a Ben Johns type player, but talk about the differences there. Why franchise versus building from the ground up? I mean, obviously the expense part, but just talk about when you talk to a potential franchisor that's reaching out to you, what do you say?
What I really like to talk about is more these good old days with no marketing, Jeff, because those were definitely the good old days of the pickleball business. It's not like that anymore, I'll guarantee you that. So thank you for going through that. But I would say, if you're looking at getting in the pickleball business and you're trying to decide, do I do this on my own or should I partner with a franchise company? What I would say to you is that, you're hearing some stories just from the three of us about the learning curve in this business. Will's talking about some of the mistakes that we've all made on the real estate side. You've heard about Jeff's learning curve. The learning curve is very dramatic. It takes time in this business, like it does many businesses, but in pickleball, it really takes time to really get to know your community, build your programming around the players that are surrounding you and that you're engaging, because they're different in every single market. They're different in every single neighborhood. Finding a way to manage the science of programming your calendar and maximizing court utilization is a major, major learning curve, along with the technology mistakes, the court surface mistakes. We're seeing this. We talk a lot about the growth in pickleball in the player community, but you also in the session before talked about the growth in paddle companies. And every aspect of this sport, every piece of the technology is growing at a juggernaut pace. And you've got to be able to keep up with that and understand what's best for your club and what's best for your community. Joining a franchise system can help shorten that learning curve, because when you join a franchise, you're learning at the speed of all of the locations that they have. So if we have 10 clubs open, we're learning 10 times faster than an independent. And we're able to share those learnings with you so that you don't make some of those mistakes that are going to hold back your profitability, hold back your player satisfaction. That's the main thing. The other thing is, as with all aspects of franchising, the good franchising companies are good because they're providing world-class support to you as an investor in the brand. And, as you're looking at the decision that's best for you and you're talking to franchising companies, definitely encourage you to get to know the entire team that's going to support you, understand how they're going to help you through those learning curves. What is the marketing support? What is the operational support? Who do you call for help? How are they going to speed up your real estate transaction? How are they going to help you find space? Are they going to get you open fast? So the support that you get needs to be world-class. I've been in franchising, date myself, 30 years. I've been doing various forms of franchising. And there are great companies out there. I believe Pickleballerz is one of them. There's others as well. But there's also some that are in this for the wrong reasons on the franchisor side. If you can find a franchisor that cares about your success and is building their franchising company on the backs of your success, I think it's a great investment. You'll long forget about the royalties and franchise fee that you've paid when you realize that you're earning so much more revenue and profitability in greater percentages because you have the help.
Yeah, and I'll add to that as well. I know Dave. Pickleballerz is a well-respected franchisor. They do the right things. We ourselves feel like we do the right things as well. We totally built out a support system for hundreds of franchises before we even had 10 open. Because as a Domino's franchisee, I realized how important the support from the franchisor was. So we tell people a couple different things. If you want to do it on your own, absolutely great. There's some phenomenally successful independent people out there that do a really good job. Pickleballerz is one. But then there's other people that before they even opened, they've made catastrophic mistakes that you'll never recover from. If you sign a bad lease for 10 years, there's no landlord that's going to let you out of it. You can't go to the landlord and say, well, this isn't quite working out. Can I have half the rent? No. They're not going to do that. You're on the hook, that's it. So what a franchisor can do is, because we've made the mistakes at Dill Dinkers with our first 5 locations. We know the mistakes that can be made. So as you go through the process with us, we make sure you don't make those mistakes. We've already paid the price. Our franchisees do not have to pay that price. And we also say, look, don't just talk to us. Talk to everybody and come to the conclusion on your own which is the best for you, because not all of the indoor pickleball franchises are the same. In some cases, they're charging a brand fund of 2 or 3%. Well, there's only 10 of them. What are you going to do with a national brand fund? It's not going to be enough money to make any kind of difference whatsoever. So we don't even charge a brand fund. We probably won't charge one till we have 100 units open, because that's money that the franchisees need for their marketing locally. If it's just sitting in a bank account for us for 2 years until we can actually do a television buy or whatever, it doesn't make any sense. So part of the whole discovery process is look at the franchisors, look at the FDDs, look at the item 19. If they're not giving you any information at all, that's a red flag, especially if they've been open for a couple of years. So just do your due diligence, because the 8% royalties, or for us in some cases with a regional developer, the royalties are 4%. You can learn a lot, and it'll keep you from making a major mistake.
If I could add a few things to what I've heard and what I've seen the last couple of days, the secret sauce, if you will, the secret to success will not be your 4-0 and 4-5 players. It's going to be your beginners, the people that have just started, the 2-0, the 2-5 players. Those are the ones that will be loyal. They're not going to leave because you developed them. We've been very fortunate. We have a pro that started with us 5 years ago. She's been with us ever since, and she does all of our beginning training, and everybody loves her. We have a total of 4 pros. 3 are PPR coaches, and 1 is a PPR pro. And they do a magnificent job. And the key element is the programming. Everybody wants to have the best programming. It's important that you do your tournaments, your leagues, your outside events, your intramural events. We've done a lot of community things. As I said yesterday, if you were here, I raised an issue. We partnered with Inova Health Systems in February during National Heart Health Month, and we did a Healthy Heart Through Pickleball Day. So anything that you can do to keep your name out there and bring the community and get them involved is critical to building new members and new players, and then keeping them, because that's the key to any business. It's expensive to find a new player. It's very inexpensive to keep that person.
There's one thing we want to talk to you guys about in regards to the programming side, and want to also ask you other revenue sources besides pickleball, because we know the chicken and pickles out there with food and beverage services, the pickletainment facilities. We're seeing a lot of different types of facilities opening up. And how important is food and beverage, and how important is a pro shop? And I know there's across the board, everybody has different ideas and concepts of, and are they all the same, or do you have certain franchises that might have food and beverage or might not, and so forth? But what do you have, Jeff?
Well, we have food and beverage. We have a beer and wine license, and that required us to serve food. And as I say, we opened we bought 2 convection ovens. We were going to serve mini pizzas and paninis and things like that. And all that equipment now sits in a little storeroom that we have. We still do the beer and wine because we do corporate events, we do team building events. We had a couple that were both divorced. They met playing pickleball. They decided to get married. They got married at Pickleballerz. They had the wedding and the reception that evening at Pickleballerz, and we catered it because we really don't want to take our convection ovens out of the closet. So, we do all of those things. We have a pro shop, and we make a modest income from the pro shop. We make a modest income from food and beverage, but we do very well on corporate events.
Yeah, one thing I love about what's going on right now, it's definitely a market of abundance. There's a place for all different types of pickleball facilities. The pickletainment facility is great, very familiar with what a lot of these folks are doing. For us at Pickle Rage, we've really, because we're growing primarily through franchising, I franchised restaurants for almost 20 years. I know how hard it is to find a great full-service food and beverage restaurant franchisee. I also know how hard it is to find great operators for a membership and hospitality and athletic facility model with Pickle Rage. I don't want to try to find that super person that can do both. So we wanted to create a business model that was a little simpler to execute. And so we've kept the restaurant component out of it. Food and beverage at Pickle Rage is strictly grab and go, snacks and easy stuff. maybe some wraps and salads for people can grab on the go when they're done playing. We're adding smoothie bars in our facilities because our research shows that's the number one thing our pickleball players want. We're testing beer and wine. I'm not super excited about it, with the exception of what Jeff mentioned was it allows for some great special events. Pro Shop is great at Pickle Rage. We're very excited about the revenues we're doing there. We want our facility to be a go-to place for players to be able to get the things they need to play, get the latest equipment, but also be able to serve those that are entering the sport. So we invest a lot of footprint on the Pro Shop. I think the one thing to remember is if you can build your facility correctly, we believe in building a world-class facility, the best that you can play pickleball in. Everything from lighting to courts to nets to the way they're serviced in the club. And when that happens, you open yourself up as a special events facility. So just this week at our Maryland location, you know, we're doing a team building event with the Amazon team, and they've already rebooked another one because our facility lends itself to a lot more than just a round robin pickleball game or an open play. So we try to leverage this great facility into a lot of great events. I say this through our Discovery Day process all the time. We've had corporate events, 50th birthday parties. I'm proud to say in our Detroit location, we've hosted 3 bachelorette parties. Those are wild, by the way. A lot of fun playing pickleball at the bachelorette party night. So you get a reputation as a place to have a really cool event, driving a lot through events. So thank you for mentioning that, Jeff. That's a big part of what our franchisees do as well.
So when you said wild bachelorette parties, it made me think of the time that the Housewives of the Potomac filmed at our Columbia facility. It was interesting to say the least. We actually lost a regional developer candidate because of it when we posted it. It was pretty crazy. So when it comes to food and beverage and pickleball, there's different lanes in pickleball. There's definitely the entertainment lane where you're dropping millions of dollars into a facility with a huge footprint, and that's a lane that is very viable. And then there's the lane that we're in, which is pickleball centric. Get people in, get them playing, have them, you know, experience your community, or lessons, whatever, and then leave. In my opinion, the people that are trying to straddle the fence and do food and beverage and pickleball without the huge footprint of, say, a chicken and pickle, those are the ones that are going to struggle because you don't have enough foot traffic with 8 courts to keep a restaurant open. So I just want people to realize that, because when we first started, we're like, well, we're not going to put in a restaurant. We actually took a snack bar out to put in an extra court. So we're like, well, we're just going to use food trucks. So we started scheduling the best food trucks in Columbia, Maryland. They never sold any food. They would be like, we have to leave 2 hours early because nobody's bought any of our barbecue or Mexican food, and they have an inventory. They got to sell it. So actually, the barbecue people left. They didn't even tell us. They went out in the parking lot to buy some ribs. I'm like, where'd they go? So that's one thing to keep in mind. There's a big audience out there and cheerleaders for food and beverage in pickleball facilities. If your facility's not big enough, it's not going to work. Not to mention, if you're in a really good retail area and you have food and restaurants in the same plaza that you're in, are you going to go to the pickleball place to eat a steak, or are you going to go to the steak place to eat a steak? That's something to keep in mind too. You're really high-level chef, and you know the millions of dollars you spent on the restaurant. Is somebody literally going to come to that restaurant just to eat with the sound of pop, 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 pop going on in the background? So just when you're getting ready to open a facility, take all these things into consideration and reach out to people that have done it, and they will tell you, oh, that's a bad mistake. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that again because I tried it once and it didn't work.
All that's well said. I'll just add to it, and I agree with you totally, Will. I think the pickletainment facilities have their place, and I think they can make money, and you'll get a lot of trials in that model. But the way that we're building a sustainable business is through a membership model and repeat play, building a community of pickleball players that's loyal to that facility. And as a business owner, when I have that projected revenue out on the books, the membership model adds multiples to the value of your business. Whereas the multiples in the restaurant space are tried and true over decades and decades of restaurant franchises. So for us, we think it makes a more valuable business if you can predict that membership model. And it also allows you to focus on being really, really great at doing a handful of things for your customers, as opposed to trying to be great at what is really two very challenging businesses.
Good points. I want to bring up the next hot topic is memberships, open play, and the programming of the courts themselves. And you talked about a cost per court, cost per player, or revenue per player, revenue per court. And I know you guys have run those spreadsheets, and you've got it down to a science in regards to that. How many courts does it take to be successful? Is there a magic number, a minimum or a maximum? And how, like you said, how big do you build one, or how, you don't have enough courts to generate the revenue based on the population. So I know there's a lot of analytics there, a lot of information, but from the basis, of your specific club, you've been in business, you've been successful. How many courts do you have? How many members do you have? Do you offer open play? We know the leagues and recs, round robins, and so forth. But I play at Diadem with Renee in a couple different indoor places here, and they've got all kinds of different programs and leagues and different. Try to keep constant activity in that facility. Hosting events at night and so forth. But just talk about the playing aspect of it, and can you survive with just pickleball alone?
We have a 20,000 square foot facility. We have 6 indoor courts. We started with a term you might be familiar with called drop-in. That was a disaster. Imagine 6 courts and 80 people show up. We panicked. So we obviously changed the name of that to open play, and you have to reserve your open play spot. Because of the open play and our leagues, we have a men's night league, we have a ladies' night league, we have a mixed doubles league on Wednesday. Thursday, we have a senior league. So we've got things going on all the time. And because of that, and because we have 6 courts, and we have non-members as well as members, the incentive for non-members become members because they were getting locked out of our leagues and locked out of tournaments because our members have an ability to register 5 days before a non-member. And so if the non-member wanted to register for a men's night league and they were blocked out, they were unhappy, and the only way they could get back in would be to become a member. So we learned that very quickly, that if you're really popular and you fill up your courts, the members will come. It's just that simple. We offer every kind of programming that you can imagine. We have, as I said, we have tournaments, we have leagues, we have men's events, women's events, mixed events, senior events. We have youth camps going on right now during the summer. We try to be, as David and Will both alluded to, we try to be community-based. We want the community to feel Pickleballerz is part of the community, and we want Pickleballers to feel we're part of them as well. It works both ways. So we've been very happy and very successful. And
how many members do you have? Is it a monthly membership or annual membership? And just give us a brief rundown.
It's monthly.
Monthly?
We tried. Nobody wanted to pay semi-annually, quarterly, annually. So it's monthly. In the first year that we were open, people quit in the summer and then rejoined. So what we did was we put in a fee, a membership initiation fee. So if they quit and they have to come back in, they have to pay a fee. Now they don't quit during the summer.
All right, you got it down. You got it down. Right, talk about
trial and error.
Trial and error, right?
About 400.
400 members?
$52.
$52 a month, 400 members.
Yeah, this is, guys, this is the most important topic that you've asked about. This is my favorite topic. Understanding the economics of your facility and understanding the programming that your players in your community need are going to determine the success and the longevity of your club. What I would tell you is you got to, like we talked about before, you got to know those economics, know what you need to do in revenue per court, per day, per week, per month, per hour, and program towards that, but you got to meet your players where they are. So if I take our Detroit location, that's a club full of very social players, a lot of 2.0s to 3.0s. They want round robins and mixers, and they want glow-in-the-dark nights and theme nights, and they want to have fun with their players. They want to come in and be in a community that's having a very social type of play. Thanks, Jeff. Whereas if I go down to our Jacksonville, Florida location, exact opposite. Bunch of elite players that bought a lot of our elite memberships. They want to compete. They want to bang on each other, and they just want to go, go, go. So it's a lot of tournaments. It's a lot of leagues. We have twice as many leagues in Jacksonville as we do at other locations because that's what they want. They want to play money ball. They want to win cash. So the programming there dramatically different than what we have in Detroit. And talk about learning curves. That was a mistake that we made at Pickle Rage early on. Is I said, look, we're going to save a little money. I'm going to bring in this national programming guy, and he's going to do the programming for all of our corporate sites and help all of our franchisees. We'll centralize it, and we'll replicate and duplicate what works well at our very first location. Big mistake. It was a total failure on our part, and we realized the programming needs to come from that community. So now we hire our programming directors directly from the player pool. We make sure that they understand how the players in that market want to play and what they need most. And it's been a game changer from us from a revenue standpoint, from a player satisfaction standpoint, and from all the things that we measure in terms of revenue per court, revenue per player, revenue per member. All of that changed dramatically when we learned that valuable lesson.
So I'll add on to that. So there's a lot of places out there that do one price covers everything. And on the surface, it's like, wow, that's great. That's the gym model, right? You're going to get hundreds of people to come in and they sign up for this monthly fee. Well, here's the news flash. This is pickleball. If I tell you can play all you want, you're going to play 6 or 7 days a week. And there's not enough courts for that. There just isn't. So internally at Dill Dinkers, we use a hybrid model, which is you pay a yearly fee for your membership, and then you get half off of the court fees. So we don't mind guests because they're paying more. We strive for between 80 and 100 members per court. We have facilities that are totally maxed out. We can't take any more members. And our retention rate is 97%. Typically, we only lose a member when they're moving away or they get sick or they get injured and they can't play. So we experimented with the one price, get you everything model in Texas. That was a total disaster because it's you against your players. And players are very, very creative. If you say, okay, you can only have one reservation a week so that you don't hog up all the courts, then they get into these little groups and they hog up the courts anyway. We literally had the same 16 players taking out courts every night. So then people couldn't get court time. So these are little things that you learn along the way. The hybrid model, which Pickleballerz uses it, I believe Pickle Rage uses it too, that is the model that will get you the most revenue per player. Because if you're going to charge a flat $120 for people to play monthly, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, a lot of money. So our average player spends about $190 a month at a Dill Dinkers. So for us, it's insane to charge a flat $119 because you're creating a lot of player dissension because they can't get a court when they want to play. And when it comes to leagues, so one of our competitors' leagues is included in that monthly fee. So you already have an issue with not having enough court time. So now you're going to put a bunch of leagues in place that makes it even more difficult to get court time. So when it comes to the programming piece and the economics of your unit, you have to take all these things into consideration. So we'll allow people to open a 4-court, a 10-court, or a 12-court facility, We do have one 18-court facility because the rent was so cheap. We like, okay. Now, and that facility also has 70-foot high ceilings. So if you ever want a really good pickleball experience, go to Hatboro, Pennsylvania. We're very big into making sure you have the right size facility, because you can open a facility with 20 courts and be very successful until the competitors start coming in. So if you're in say, you know, a city with 500,000 people, and you're on the left-hand side of the city across the river with a 20-court facility, and you're doing great for 2 years, and then Pickle Rage opens up on the other side of the river, then Dill Dinkers opens up south of you, people are not going to consistently drive more than 20 minutes to play pickleball. As soon as somebody else opens up that's less than that, they're going to go there. Now, your facility might be better from the community perspective and your execution is better, but you can't depend on that when it comes to people and their patterns. They're going to go to the closer place. Unless it's a total debacle, they're going to go there. So you have to be mentally prepared for that. You can't open a facility that is too big. Now, there are some things that you can consider. Like, we've opened facilities in places and we paid higher rent because we've done the research, we've looked at the satellite maps. There's literally, it doesn't exist for a competitor to go in there. So every time somebody comes at us with a location, we go through this process, like, can somebody else open up within a 10-mile time frame or 10-minute time frame, whatever that is, and be a competitor? If the building doesn't exist, then by all means open up, because you will be the only place there that kind of caters to that pickleball community. I think I went off on a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, that's good though.
Sorry about
that was a good
Carl.
tangent. It was a good tangent, for sure. All right, we want to take
It
some
was
questions. I
interesting.
know you might have a lot of questions here. Some great information we could talk about this. Like I said, this is one of the big topics and the growth around the country, and we see there's how many franchise groups are out there? I don't know how many now. There's 5, 6, 7.
I think there's 6 now.
6? Okay, yeah. I mean, we had a couple of different guys last year as well, but I think there's 6 real quality groups out there. So let's open up for some questions, Adam. Before our next keynote, before lunch, is Brandon Mackey with Pickleheads, talking about programming. I know he works with a lot of the indoor facilities with Pickleheads in some of their tournaments. They're running all our tournaments downstairs as well. So let's start off with a question right there.
I didn't hear you guys mention seasonal times at all. And in New York, that's a very big thing, is being able to go every Tuesday from 6 to 8 with 20 guys, where you can take 4 courts. Do you guys have an opinion on seasonals?
Yeah, we have several small groups that want to play every Tuesday afternoon or something like that, and they want 2 courts. Yeah, we have no problem, if that's what you were referring to. I really couldn't hear the question.
It said more of a seasonal. Is that like a standard, like all year round, they get that time slot?
Every Wednesday, I take 4 courts, 2 hours at a time, 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Is that good or bad? What's your opinion, right?
So, you're in New York, right? Long Island? Okay. Yeah, I know your facility. So seasonals, you have to be careful, because say you want to get creative with programming down the road, but you've committed to a group to get 6 of your 9 courts every Wednesday, for 6 months. Well, how is that going to cut you off at the knees if you decide you want to do a bunch of leagues? So at our Columbia facility in Maryland, we started off with 12 leagues on a 6-court facility. It was very, very difficult to execute, but boy, we made a lot of money off of that. So if you do a seasonal situation like that, or contract time as we call it, just make sure that you're not keeping you from doing more creative programming down the road. I don't think it's a bad idea, but just think about it before you execute it. But some of the unknown revenue can be much higher with a league situation.
Right.
There's consequences to the rest of your player community and how they want to use your facility. So you're also balancing just expectations and satisfaction from the rest of your players. So knowing, like, if your players love open play during that time, you got to protect that too. And so we like to explore all of these revenue generating short-term things. We'll try almost anything, but we're going to really measure how it impacts the community as a whole before we commit to something like that long-term.
All right, next question, Adam.
Yeah, we're looking to open 16 indoor courts around Hilton Head and struggling between doing it as an independent versus franchise. I was a Five Guys franchisee, so I get the concept of franchise and the value. Certainly as a startup, franchise is fantastic, right? You guys have solved a lot of the problems that we're going to hit. But what's the benefit for pickleball long term? 3 years, 5 years from now, what is the franchisor going to offer that it's worth paying the fees on?
So you said near Hilton Head?
Yeah.
So one of the benefits of being a Dill Dinkers franchise is our memberships are nationwide. If you're a member at one Dill Dinkers, you're a member at every Dill Dinkers. And the reason why the franchisees can benefit from that is because they get court fees. So at the end of the day, it's almost a wash. To give you an example, when we opened up in Hilton Head, Denise and I were there for the opening, we recognized 12 members from other clubs around the country that were vacationing in Hilton Head. So in the Maryland market, where we have a pretty strong presence, we have 7 locations within 30 to 40 minutes of each other, and all those locations do different programming. So on a Tuesday night, the high-level players go to Cockeysville. On a Wednesday night, they go to Columbia. So as we penetrate a market and we have more and more locations, there's nothing wrong with independents, and I'm not, trying to disparage them, but are you going to become a member of a place where you can only play there, or are you going to become a member of a place that has multiple programming in your market at different locations? So that's kind of a strategic long-term play that we're doing at Dill Dinkers. We're opening a facility in Las Vegas. He's getting ready to sign his LOI. So Dill Dinkers members from around the country, when they go to Las Vegas, they're going to go to check out the Dill Dinkers in Las Vegas. So there's a lot of strategic reasons to be part of it as well. The branding, the marketing, et cetera, et cetera. So in Hilton Head, we got a pretty strong presence on the island, and we know that there's really nowhere else for anybody to go. So you're probably going across the bridge, I would imagine. So if you became a Dill Dinkers franchise, we would conquer that market together, and members could play on the island and off the island. And when visitors came in from out of town, Dill Dinkers members from around the country, they could go to either or.
Good point. You have another question?
I would just
Go ahead,
want to
David.
respond to that and just from just a slightly different angle. It's a great question. I've been in franchising almost 30 years. I've had this conversation thousands of times. And what I tell prospective franchisees is make sure that if you're gonna go the route of the franchise and you see the value in the startup phase, make sure you're partnering with a franchisor that is committed to the long-term success. What you're looking for in your franchisor is constant innovation, constant industry expertise, constant upgrades to your facility, to your marketing, to your support, to your operation. This is a business in pickleball that's moving at an incredibly fast rate. The development of just the technology alone, you need a franchisor that can keep up with that so that you can execute your business, run your team, drive profits, and take distributions in your business. You need a franchisor that's going to make sure you're always on the cutting edge. And I've worked with thousands of franchisors over the years. They're not all like that. I think Dill Dinkers is like that. I can tell you Pickleballerz is like that. If you're talking to others, ask them those questions and see how they make you feel about your long-term success, because the best franchising companies are building their companies on the backs of great franchisees that are profitable and validate the brand the entire time they're a franchisee. And I can just tell you, the great franchisors, that's how they're focused, and you'll feel the same value in the long term that you feel at the startup phase.
All right, great. We have time for one more question, and these guys will be around today, and so if you can make sure you talk to them, network with them, that's why we're here. You want to do a deal with them, you ready to write business now? If somebody wants to buy, you ready?
Denise has the contracts.
Denise has the contract. His club's for sale, too. Well, we have brokers coming up later today. We got some investors and brokers looking to buy and sell power brokers. They're official power brokers, Trans World Brokers, official sales brokers for the USA Pickleball now. So they are seeing the pickleball business, are buying and selling companies in pickleball and for investors wanting to get into pickleball. So that's coming up a little later today. We're going to close out with that one. That's going to be a good one. Okay, where's the other question? Where we're at?
I promise this is not a tee-up question for myself.
Hello, Cameron.
I promise. But one of the things that I noticed at the Dill Dinkers annual franchise convention a few weeks ago, I also noticed this, and it's a similar concept with the Club Pickleball Mastermind, which Devin Egan runs out of Utah, is what I think is a huge advantage of some of the franchisor groups, which is what I'll call the vendor network effect. You know, the ability at scale to build partnerships with key trusted vendors, and that network effect, I'd love to hear you guys talk about that, because that to me is a huge kind of secret ingredient of the franchise model to begin with, but especially in this space where you guys have all these franchisees all across the country developing relationships and building those relationships at scale.
And also pickleball insurance. We didn't touch on the insurance aspect of it too. That's another, you know, you can see him
Thanks
on
for
that.
the plug, Carl. It was a real question that I was asking.
I know, but you reminded me to talk about insurance, and I didn't get to that point. But that's a big issue too, I'm sure.
So Cameron brings up a really good topic. You know, when it comes to franchise support and what we offer to people, you know, part of it is our relationships with vendors. Cameron and I met a couple years ago on LinkedIn, and we had several conversations about insurance. You know, I wish I had recordings of those, because whenever I want to take a nap, I would just play that. But, you know, we helped Cameron put together a lot of parts of his pickleball insurance program. Cameron he's an amazing partner, and we have other amazing partners. We have partnership with Pickleball Central. So people are like, well, why would you have a Pickleball Central Pro Shop in your facilities? Well, as a franchisee getting ready to do your startup, do you want to spend 20 or 30 grand on inventory, not knowing if it's going to sell or not? Or would you rather have somebody come out, set up your pro shop for you, put 50 paddles in your pro shop, versus you having 50 relationships with all these different paddle companies? So part of what we do is we make everything as streamlined, as easy as possible, and we do that through our vendors as well, because they bring a lot of value to the franchise. And because, you know, we're not an independent, we have some scale, and we can help drive margins because we get better rates and deals like Court Reserve. We have an amazing enterprise level deal with Court Reserve. You can get everything with Court Reserve for one price that's wrapped up in our tech fee. Like if you were going to do that on your own, it might be $800 a month. Well, our total tech fee is $1,250, and that includes all kind of bells and whistles that you don't have to worry about. You pay one fee, we pay all the bills, and it's the same way with our vendors with Pickleball Central. And there's a bevy of other. We just found a ball that's going to be 90 cents a ball. Currently, we're paying $1. So, and I think David alluded to this a little bit too. As a franchisor, we have a lot of buying power, and we have a lot of strength in the market, and we help drive those savings to the franchisees.
Ditto.
Good job. All right, guys. We could spend more time about a great round of applause. Great information from our grandfather of pickleball, the first indoor facility, the Godfather, the pickleball father, right here, Jeff Raelson. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate Pickleballerz coming in, and Pickle Rage, David Smith, and he's gonna be back later on too. And Will Richards, great. Dill Dinkers do an awesome job from last year. We'll hear from the other side, the better half, about your grand openings out there, Denise Richard, a little bit later on. But I did want to present real quick, because Will and Denise have been nominated and are getting one of the Golden Pickleball Awards that we've been giving out over the weekend. So I'd like to bring Denise up here and Will and present them with their innovators and passionate sports for pickleball, really growing this industry.